Thanks everybody for coming to our presentation today. We're looking forward to sharing what we've learned about raising awareness on social media about how to be COVID smart with all of you. Next slide, please. So now I'll introduce our speakers, and we are Mask Together America in participation with Teens for Vaccines. My name is Lindsay Schwartz. I'm the coordinator for Mask Together America. I have 2 elementary age children. I'm a political science teacher. I'm a wife of an airline pilot who is obviously an essential worker who flew during through all the waves of the COVID pandemic. And I myself is a COVID survivor. And unfortunately, I lost my father, who's a cardiologist, to COVID in August of 2020. Our fearless founder, Julie Lamb, is a photographer and a published writer. Julie and I became friends and colleagues when she was the first to post about mine and my father's story. Arun Parsa is the founder of Teens for Vaccines. He researches vaccine hesitancy and how that affects teen vaccination rates. We also have Ayan Moladina. He is a vaccine advocate and a youth leader. He's gone door to door actually promoting vaccination. He's also met with the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, and was featured by the White House COVID-19 response team. So welcome to everybody. Next slide, please. So we were founded in May 2020, and we are a grassroots apolitical social media movement run entirely by volunteers. And when we say a grassroots movement, we mean it's a community that was formed from the bottom up, because we all saw a pressing need for change during the pandemic. And we also recognize that grassroots movements, they must be educational, because nobody can advocate for something that they don't understand, right? That is why awareness and communication is very important for a movement like ours. The education grows a community that leads to action. And now Julie is going to give you the timeline of how Mask Together America was started and transformed over the months. So we'll swap seats, Julie.
I don't hear anything.
Really?
Got it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Lamb. I'm a writer, an amateur photographer, a mom. I used to work in advertising when my son was a toddler. Now he's a sophomore in college. Can we change the slide? Great. So I initiated Mask Together America, even though I didn't know much about social media. I created this timeline to show you that a lot has happened in nearly 2 years of work. This journey involved many steps. I started raising awareness on social media when the virus was emerging in Wuhan. The threat was urgent. I was warned by my friends, they were doctors in Hong Kong. Today, the threat is still urgent. This Halloween, I was on the street to take mass portraits. An after-school teacher told me that a mom was giving away candies to kids. The rapper said, "Don't let anyone take away your rights. You don't need to get vaccinated." This young teacher smiled for my camera and gave me a quote when I prompted her. She trusts me even though she doesn't know me. She immediately followed Mask Together America's platform. Her quote was, "Protect others. Set an example for the children." In this journey, through working on the ground as a photographer and writing about people I met on the street, via social media, I met lots of wonderful people who support public health, who are selfless, caring, giving, and brave. These people inspired me to do something I've never done before. In March 2020, I started to get serious. Instead of posting on Facebook to warn my friends, I wrote about the pandemic, publishing stories and articles on Medium and New York Voice. I didn't even have an Instagram account, but I decided to fight disinformation by attempting to create a movement. First, I started by inviting people to mask with me. Eventually, I created Mask With Us, which is a private Facebook group. The use of masks has been politicized by people in America through the press, through social media influencers, and politicians. I kept the Facebook group private so people would be more comfortable to share their insights. While we were banging pots and pans in New York to support frontliners, COVID took my friend Dr. Barry Weber's life. He was a surgeon who worked at Mount Sinai Hospital in Queens. He was a swim dad. Our sons were on the same swim team. I watched the boys grow up. 5 workers in my own apartment building got COVID. One was sick for 4 months. This young man, only 39 years old, recently passed away. I don't need more motivation than this. I use everything I have to rally America to work together. I changed the hashtag a couple of times from Mask With Me to Mask With Us and finally settled down on Mask Together America. I was inspired by Milton Glaser to use the word together. Milton Glaser made a beautiful typography design of the word together when New York became the epicenter of the pandemic last year. Milton Glaser and many others inspired me as an artist to support public health in this battle. Like many others, I have posted selfies, but I'm aware of my own race, a disadvantage to be an Asian American in America. On top of the pandemic, as if it wasn't difficult enough, I needed to worry about deep-rooted hatred. Some people ask me why I put my safety on the line to photograph and report on the street. My answer is, this is a calling. I need to do this. As Dr. King said, if you cannot do great things, you can do small things in a great way. The street photography prompted some people to share their mask selfies with me. Their volunteer action prompted me to pick up my pen and write again. Instead of just posting my own pictures with the hashtag, I now also share stories about people behind the mask. On our social media platforms, I give people shout outs. I support advocates, mask makers, and public health organizations. On the ground, I volunteer as a photographer for local empowerment groups and nonprofit outreach organizations in New York City. I shoot and write for Yellow Heart Memorial Group. If people need my support, I will be there. So that's how I met Lindsay and other COVID advocates, by doing what I can to help others. That's how we created a team, then an organization with a beautiful website created by a volunteer teammate, Phil Nolan. To protect myself from COVID, I double mask up when I shoot. I made a point to visit neighborhoods hit hardest by the pandemic. I was in South Bronx and saw kids shooting hoops in the playground. I nagged them until they will all put their masks on and line up for me. I don't mind the work. I retouch all the pictures. I travel to different states. I write till morning every day. I am a messenger for others. I want to end this pandemic. The stories and group videos on our platforms were created for us to come together and rally safely on social media. Initially, the focus was community masking. Then now we also included the need to vaccinate. We started to promote vaccination in the last 2 video productions. Mask Together America won't quit until the end. We need to promote vaccines for 5 to 11, the youngest group. A musician has volunteered and written a song for us, and we are looking for participants from the world. Everyone are encouraged to participate. We can rally together. Now Lindsay will continue to share the next slide.
Can you hear me? Okay, thanks. So when you're creating an online community, one thing to be aware of is what they call slacktivism or clicktivism. that's when somebody feels like they're doing a really great job in advocacy by simply clicking or sharing. And we want people to do that, but we also want that to turn into real advocacy and sometimes on the ground advocacy too, as much as you can during a pandemic. So we do this by encouraging each other and by posting new and unique content continually that will engage the audience. Like when we share the masked portraits, we show people doing in life, like masking while they're doing their job, for example. We had a post about a lineman who works for the electric company, and he does his job even outdoors while wearing a mask. So it's people doing in life and not just clicking on or sharing information about masking. So we can see our partners there, like SF Strong and Teens for Vaccines. And we've also gotten much support from business and mask makers. So Julie, can you talk to us about the businesses and how you got their support for us?
Well, everything happened kind of organically. When I traveled, I took pictures of pilots and flight attendants, tagging the airline and the individuals I photographed. They like us back. The hotel chain, like Marriott, they like the post where I published a quote and a mask portrait of one of their hotel staff. California Closet loved the video I made of the 2 workers who built my closet. Another time, I photographed a mural in Pilsen, Chicago. This mural features essential workers, and one of them is a postal worker. The U.S. Postal Service asked if they could repost the picture. So Mask Together America has continuously featured businesses that take preventive measures seriously. In addition, I share stories about mask makers because they deserve a shout out. They have worked so hard providing PPE to fix the shortage problem in our country. And they also help to normalize mask use. So businesses really support Mask Together America because they are happy to be featured, and they love that the whole relationship is symbiotic. And we will continue to build community, and we think that supporting businesses is the right way to go.
Thanks, Julie. I'm having some technical difficulties. I can't move myself out of the thing. I wasn't able to do it. There's a picture from that's now I can't see my own notes.
Now we will hear from founder of Teens for Vaccines, Aaron Passer from California. Aaron will share his presentation about how to engage teens on raising awareness.
Thank you, Julie. It's truly an honor to be here today to talk about what we do at Teens for Vaccines for engaging and empowering teens. So as Lindsay mentioned, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. As Lindsay mentioned, I'm Aaron, a high schooler from California, and I founded Teens for Vaccines at the height of the measles outbreaks in 2019, before the pandemic, and my ongoing research is in factors affecting adolescent vaccine rates. And once again, I am super excited to be here. Next slide, please. So Teens for Vaccines is a youth collective, and our core mission is to educate and empower teens to be vaccinated and be champions of public health. We have 35 plus ambassadors across various states in the US, and I'm particularly proud of how diverse we are. We come from various different backgrounds and ages, including teens with vaccine hesitant and anti-vax parents. Next slide, please. Our vision is a world where all teens know which vaccines they need and when, so teens have easy access to vaccines, especially in schools, since many teens are either rural or have parents working 2 jobs and don't have transportation. We also envision that all teens are able to self-consent to their own vaccines, especially high schoolers. So to synthesize this all into one sentence, no one should live in fear, get sick, or die from vaccine-preventable diseases. Next slide, please. I founded Teens for Vaccines at the height of the measles outbreaks of 2019 after finding that so many teens were going to Reddit, a huge social media platform for teens worldwide. And many teens wanted to know how they could get vaccinated without parental consent. Many immunocompromised kids were forced to stay at home because vaccine rates in schools were dangerously low. And I live in San Jose, which is a few hours away from Orange County, which is a very heavy anti-vax hotspot in California. So it made the story hit even more close to home for me. Next slide, please. Initially, helping teens and parents who were seeking answers on social media was a big focus. And I found it shocking that so many were needing assurance and looking for trusted information. And by this time, I had started following many immunization coalitions, pro-vax nonprofits, and adult vaccine advocates, and built up a knowledge base of easy-to-understand content that I could share. So connecting one-on-one and helping teens and parents with empathy, as well as sharing personal stories and easy-to-read resources, can go a long way. Next slide, please. And these are some of the organizations and doctors whose resources I found incredibly helpful in the early days of Teens for Vaccines. Next slide, please. Celebrating vaccinations and telling teens that they were super brave to come forward with their fears and giving Reddit awards built up a community spirit among us teens that we could come forward with our fears and anxieties. Next slide, please. And in those days, teens who wanted answers were on social media, but diseases and vaccine topics were not common teen topics at all. And then the pandemic hit. Suddenly, every teen was aware, and questions about disease transmission as well as vaccines just surged. There were a lot of questions about the science. So what is mRNA? What are antibodies? And as the pandemic progressed, what is the Delta variant, and will the vaccine work for all variants? And another big question was, why is mask efficacy such a big debate? Isn't it common sense that things won't go in the nose or mouth when we have a barrier? And so on. And coupled with these were vaccine concerns. So teens mostly echoed parental concerns, such as, was the vaccine developed too fast? The name Operation Warp Speed didn't give many teens confidence about the safety. And as disinformation spread rampantly, there were concerns on fertility as well as myocarditis. And before the Delta variant, teens were called a low-risk group. So parents, as well as some teens, were thinking, it's maybe not worth it to take the vaccine right now. We'll wait. And another big question was, if vaccines work, why do we have to wear masks when we're fully vaccinated? We also saw a huge number of teens simply afraid of needles, just wondering if they could skip this vaccine like many skipped the flu shot. Next slide, please. Many teens felt like no one was talking to them. COVID-related information and later on vaccine-related information was geared towards adults and parents, many of whom were hesitant. And teachers having so many varied opinions confused a lot of teens. So after an entire year of isolation, most teens were just fed up and wanted ways to either convince their parents or just know their rights. Do they need parental consent? Where is the nearest pharmacy? And so on. Many were also seeking answers for friends, and the pandemic certainly brought teens closer as everyone faced the same issues of not having enough information, engagement, or access. Next slide, please. So what did we do? Next slide, please. We wanted to bring teens together, and we surveyed through our personal networks on how teens were feeling, what questions they had, what were their friends thinking about the vaccine, was their school doing enough, do they feel hurt, and what needed to change. Teens needed to know that their opinions mattered. Next slide, please. Soon, we organized virtual town halls on Zoom where teens talked directly to doctors and nurses without parents being there. And these were very informal spaces. So it wasn't like a lecture or a presentation, but rather a discussion where teens felt like they were heard. And vaccinated teens were naturally sharing why they got vaccinated. Next slide, please. Soon, we started to share powerful personal stories of vaccinated teens on social media, and one of our videos went viral, having about 14,000 views. If you can, yeah. I don't think the audio for the video is on, but there is some background, like very calming music going on in the video. There we go. Thank you. And through our efforts, Louisiana. So through our efforts, a Louisiana teen who thought COVID was a joke caught COVID and then got the vaccine joined our team so he could educate others. And we started to see a groundswell of such teens wanting to do the right thing, to reach out to their peers. And social media, especially Instagram and Reddit, really helped to get our message out that teens overwhelmingly want to crush COVID. Next slide, please. And then we started to see ambassadors taking the lead on their own issues. So we see Ayana here on the slide talking to the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, and one of our ambassadors, Emma, ended up talking to Ryan Seacrest on his own podcast. So we started to see such an uptick of teens really joining up and wanting to do the right thing. Next slide, please. We updated our website with science videos on how vaccines work, specifically the mRNA vaccine. What is community immunity? And above all, why vaccination is not just an individual choice. It affects people around us. So getting vaccinated is the right thing to do. And trust me when I say this, teens do get it. We also emphasize to teens that it isn't just about COVID, but that they need to get their other routine vaccinations. Next slide, please. So to reassure teens and parents for the COVID vaccine, we relied largely on doctors' blogs, especially Dr. Gretchen LaSalle, who has 2 teenage sons. And she talked about how she wouldn't recommend a vaccine that she, as a mother, wouldn't give her own children. And that infused a lot of trust with teens. Next slide, please. And as we were helping teens convince their parents, we wrote all of our tips in a guide, most important of which are: get your facts down, don't fight with your parents, lean on personal stories, be persistent, and for teens of extreme anti-vax parents that are beyond hope, we help them with state laws and finding pharmacies, all in keeping with the law. Next slide, please. We raised awareness so teens could start speaking up, and that support from parents, schools, healthcare providers, and legislators was absolutely critical if we want to raise teen vaccination rates. Next slide, please. Finally, as schools opened up, vaccinated teens were willing to lobby their school boards for COVID safety measures, such as masking, testing, and vaccine mandates. And no one likes mandates, but we can't go back to the distance learning, which is not equitable for a lot of teens. Next slide, please. And on a different note, we were thrilled to receive a letter from President Biden for our efforts back in August. But in closing, I'd like to emphasize that Thank you. So in closing, I'd like to emphasize that reaching out proactively to help teens on social media and in our own personal networks, telling them that they can make a tremendous difference in keeping our communities safe, can go such a long way in empowering teens to be champions of public health. So thank you. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I wanted to to thank Miss Julie Lamb as well as Lindsay for giving me the opportunity to speak here today, and I hope you all learned something today.
Hey, Lindsay, you're muted.
All right, I think someone muted me earlier. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron, for explaining the movement and how you've trained your ambassadors. So now we're going to talk about how Mask Together America found our audience and how you can too. When it comes to finding your audience, first you want to think about who is most likely to share your concerns. For us, that means families with young children, frontline workers, the underserved community, businesses who didn't want to shut down, survivors, and long haulers. People who are featured on our platforms comes from all states and all walks of life, and we're a platform that allows all people to have a voice. And you can see from the picture there on the slide that there's all ages, all different kinds of masks, people from everywhere. That's one of our core beliefs. Next slide, please. Thank you. Another thing we learned is don't try to convince people who will never listen. You're going to have too much to do building your own community on social media, so don't spend time on this. For example, you can see the school walkout day in the middle. That was a meme that was going around to promote a school walkout to prevent mask mandates or vaccination mandates. And it did get some media attention, but I didn't see anybody around here doing that. And so something interesting to consider is, why does the media love all these anti-mask protests and give it so much attention? And also, for example, another example of contradictory information is that Fox News corporate has a vaccine mandate. All of the people that work there are vaccinated, but they pander to anti-vaxxers. Just something to think about. Next slide, please. So this is, you can see who we're up against here. You don't want to engage anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers because your engagement helps them actually increase the curation of their own social media platforms. They grow popularity through clicks and reactions, so don't engage them. And if we were to post information that contradicts them, they could report us to Facebook. And the reports and blocks then leads Facebook to turn off our posts for a certain amount of time. We do have to block them if they attack us. But take a look at the picture in the middle. That picture is of a protest from a group called Let Them Breathe, which is mainly, I think, a Southern California group. And it makes it look like there are a lot of people at that protest. But if you look closer, it's really not. It's about 2 people deep. And I think they took a close-up picture like that to make it look like there were more people there. And you can also take a look at their logo versus our logo and see that there's some similarities there, but we're on opposite sides of this debate. Those people were probably given signs that were already made, and you have to consider the funding for that group as well. Take a look at the black and white picture that starts with "We stand for love." It's interesting if you consider the corruption of the language there. For example, we stand for freedom, but is it freedom if you want to continue to spread a deadly virus around? I don't think so. Their freedom means the unfettered ability to infect others. Does that a free society make? Not in my estimation. Another thing about them is that we consider them our competitors. We can learn from them. We have to learn about them. They show people happy, but without masks on. We show people smiling behind their masks. And you can see the smile behind the mask. I remember when Julie asked me to pose for Mask Together America for the first time. And she asked me to make sure I was smiling behind my mask. And I had no idea why she was asking this. But then I made sure I did. And I looked at the pictures and I thought, oh, you could still see somebody smiling. This isn't, the social disaster
Blockage.
that people are saying. You can still see someone smiling. And so both of these groups, we and they, we look somewhat similar based on that, but we're definitely not. They're playing on the fact that people want to return to normal. So we have to identify them as a competitor. They believe people can only be happy and smile without a mask, but our people are smiling with their masks on because they feel safe and protected. Next slide, please. So remember RRDB. This is how we approach people that bully us or attack us on social media. You yourself don't bully others because you disagree with them. Teasing and doxing will not get you the support you want. You should RRDB. Restrict, report, delete, and block. Just go ahead and commit that to memory. And on the slide is what it looks like to do that, at least on Facebook. Facebook will give you, under report, you can say, please select a problem. It'll give you different reasons that you can block someone. And usually when we do it under the health or false information reason, but you can choose your own reason. And it's important to stay calm. The more popular you get on social media, the more likely it is that you will experience attacks similar to these. So it's kind of like if you're getting them, it's really not fun, but it shows that you're engaging a lot more people. On the far right-hand side, you can see the creepy clown picture. And they said, I know who your followers are, and they're cursing at us. Yeah, exactly. To me, that's a little bit creepy, the clowns. So that's just my own thing. The middle picture is an example of someone doxing us. They took a screenshot of our Instagram page and then called us names, and it was ridiculous. So just know that this is something you might see. And Julie, how do you feel about people who attack MTA like this on social media?
Well, initially I get very threatened and angry. But over time, I learned to stay calm, and I learned that there's nothing you can do about these people. So you just do the RRDB, restrict, report, delete, and block. That's really what we should do. The more you engage them, the more you're going to help them. Just remember, don't help them.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. So one day, Julie informed the MTA team that our posts were being attacked on our platform. So it turns out that we were not the only platform that got hacked. So one of President Joe Biden's speeches that was being posted online got hacked. It was reposted by a different group, and you can tell that it was because the comments were cut off on the side, but the comments were full on the real version. So that's just one thing to be aware of. If the president can get hacked, so can you. It's just something you have to deal with, and you'll be able to overcome it if you stay calm. Next slide, please. This is a really good example of what happens if someone hides, reports, or spams and unlikes your post. This is a chart put out by Facebook showing that because somebody complained or blocked about one of our posts, that they hid all of our posts for 3 days. So all the work that we had done on our Facebook platform was just invisible to people because somebody got offended about something. So this is commentary on the kind of power that Facebook has to censor, whether you're a group that's out there for good or not. And so just be aware that that can happen. And that's why you definitely don't want to give anybody a reason to block you. Don't fight with idiots, essentially. Next slide, please. So how do we rise above these challenges? You might consider, well, I've got to get a lot of followers, okay? But it doesn't really matter how big a group seems to be. It is actually possible to buy followers for not a lot of money. Don't be discouraged if you're a small group. Definitely do not buy followers. Your followers will increase organically over time. It's better than lying about your membership and compromising your integrity as a group. And if you do buy followers, people can see through that pretty easily. If you look at the picture on the left, it says, are you interested in growing your Instagram accounts? It's 100% guaranteed. So you can buy 20,000 followers for $150 US. So for, a dinner for 4 at a medium price restaurant, you can buy 20,000 followers on Instagram. I never knew that. It's just a little bit crazy. And then if you look at the Instagram site for the organization we talked about earlier, Let Them Breathe, isn't it interesting that they have 20,000 followers? But I don't see them around much. You think if their group was really that big, they would be everywhere. And it's my suspicion that they bought followers. So it seems to be pretty transparent to me. If you do that, the comments and reactions that you get from these followers are going to be pretty generic. So it's pretty easy to see through. So don't do that. Don't compromise your integrity. Let your organization grow organically, and it will. If you curate content, keep new content coming, etc. Next slide, please. So how to create a positive image and win support. On social media, you can have business accounts or personal accounts. You do need to have both. You can create a brand to promote a message and start a movement. Mask Together America itself is a business account, and the business account allows you to promote your posts by paying for it. This is one way to reach a wider audience, and you can specify your target geographically and by age. A commercial account allows you to do different things, like you can use professional tools that were made exclusively for content creators and developers. Facebook will provide you with data, which is really important, to show you the performance of each post, even the shared posts, so you can see how well your content is doing, and you can do more of that. As an individual advocate, you can have an additional account in addition to your business account. And you can share the work from the business account to your personal account. So that gives you another layer of liking and sharing, etc. You can add comments that will also help drive the curation of the site on your personal account. And even if your personal accounts differ from the tone of the campaign, a personal account can reflect your view better. So you could kind of work together. Two accounts can work together. In addition, we created a private Facebook advocacy group called Mask With Us. And you have to ask to be put into the group. And as long as it doesn't look like you said a bunch of crazy anti-masking things in the past, we would let you in gladly. And we chose that private setting because mask use has been so politicized in the United States, unfortunately. And people would feel more comfortable in a private Facebook setting to share their beliefs and to share news articles. It's almost therapy in a way to come in and say, for me especially, as a mom of elementary school kids, I've gone through everybody masking up last year in school to not masking in the beginning of the school year to masking for a month and then taking away masks again. So and obviously it makes me very upset because I lost my father. I don't want to lose my kids. So being able to talk about it in a more private setting like that, it's free therapy. It's good for everybody. We can all talk to each other about it and come up with solutions and support each other. So I recommend the private group as well. So both the personal account and the business account can then join other groups. So by joining other groups, you can share your posts and reach more people and grow followers. And that's what we do with Teens for Vaccines as well. You can also tag other groups and increase your connection with these groups to earn their support. People sharing your posts will help you reach more people. It's important to earn the love from your followers and share it. Next slide, please. So authenticity does matter on social media. As much as we talk about how terrible it is, if you stay authentic, you can get some really good attention and you can start to make a difference. So Dr. Robbie, she's in the upper right hand of that square. And she is a long hauler, and she has spent months in New York City getting medical treatment for COVID long haulers disease. While she was on the way home from one of those weeks-long treatments, her mother actually showed signs of COVID and passed out in her home. But her mother had a caretaker named Gus, and he began to show signs of COVID as well. But he couldn't get tested because he didn't have a car, and all the testing sites in his area were drive-through. And he does not have adequate healthcare coverage, and he couldn't figure out how to get tested. So Dr. Robbie eventually helped him. But we told that story, and it actually got 27,144 people to look at it. So we thought that was a real win. And our organization, we have a core mission, and that's to support the front line and also help the marginalized like us. And we need to make sure that everybody who wants a COVID test can get one easily, that they're available and that they're easy to understand. Thank you. Next slide, please. So we also connect with victims and their family in person, even during a pandemic. They deserve to have a voice. Julie and her camera went to the Brooklyn Bridge and the COVID March for Change gathering. She was at the gathering before and after that, and she actually reminded everybody to mask up. And you can see in the news picture right there that she's right in the middle in the front with her hand raised in the yellow shorts. So she even had the outfit because yellow was the color of the day. She made sure everybody masked up. She met them in person. We wanted to send a message to the families of the people who lost somebody, that you don't have to hide away in your grief as long as you take the right precautions when you want to be in person. And it was important to build that support in person. So can you rally together without actually being there in person? You know, we had to contend with pandemic restrictions, but we still make it happen. And it's important to consider when you're talking about social media advocacy, how far can you go sitting in front of your computer trying to make change? You can do a lot, but it's also important to connect with your community in person. And also, many people don't have computers, but they still deserve to be part of the movement. When you consider how many people we've lost just in the United States alone, we all need to come together and make sure that everybody, no matter what equipment they have at home or not, that they can still be together and grieve together and be part of the community. So our platform is designed for people to rally together safely in person as well. Next slide, please. So authenticity, content creation, and inclusivity. Our organization is surviving because we consider ourselves the independent COVID media, and we share true stories. Our stories are properly written, educational, and shareable. They include everybody. It's important to see the world through a child's perspective. And we're done with hatred and we're done with the divisiveness. And also remember that Facebook is not on your side. For example, all our posts were blocked during the election. Our posts were blocked during the election because we showed people masking up. That was considered political. You can see that if you read that warning on your own time. It's just crazy. They claimed that masked portraits were political and could be harmful to the presidential election. Think of that, right? So next slide, please. So we're here to talk about Meta, because now Facebook is Meta. We're talking about Facebook's social media platforms. These platforms have rules and you have to consider them. they also censor images and words. Facebook claims that they align with the WHO and the CDC, but their curation and their algorithm, like chemotherapy, it kills cancer cells and also the good cells at the same time. So it's important to consider that. Next slide, please. You need to understand the censorship that you're going to be against and just to know how to work around it. And it's definitely good to work around it. Don't give up. On the right-hand picture that's a little bit darker there, that shows Julie and her husband flying and double masking, and they posted that to Facebook. But Facebook added a warning to it because it was dangerous. And it said that to make sure that the information is reliable before sharing it, because people were masked up on an airplane. Oh my God, it's a conspiracy. So Facebook is doing a really good job there, right? Also in the middle, this was the first time I was featured on Mask Together America. And she wrote about me as a COVID victim that lost my father and that I mask up in honor of him. And Facebook also put a level of censorship on that post by implying that people need more information about COVID-19. So what was I saying? I wasn't talking about how COVID spreads. I wasn't talking about QAnon. It was just about that I masked up in honor of my father who died, but they put a warning on it. And on the left, the woman featured there, she's a mask advocate, and she shared about how she helped her community understand the need to mask up. Her post got the highest level of blockage from Facebook. And you've got to consider why this is happening. And just be aware that it's going on so you can work around it. Next slide, please. So this is an open question for all of us to think about. You can maybe return to this slide. Facebook thinks its platform is the most trustworthy in sharing public health information, but is that really true? Okay, thank you. Now you can go on to the next slide. Thanks. Promotion not approved. Okay, so this was on Mask Together America, and it shows my father and I at the bottom right. And this was just done about a month ago. And it shows my children masking up and being fine masking up going to school, that it wasn't a terrible thing for your kids. They don't throw fits in the morning. My kids like wearing a mask. It can be fine, right? That's what we're trying to promote. What we did was we included what kind of masks my kids were wearing. And we credited the company that made them. And because of that, Facebook would not allow us to promote that post. Why? It thought we were promoting medical grade PPE. But my children's masks obviously are not medical grade PPE. I cannot make medical grade PPE fall out of the sky and give it to everyone in my family. If I could, I would do it. But they thought we were promoting medical grade PPE. And all we said was what kind of mask my kids were wearing to try to help other parents. So that just shows you that Facebook is not sophisticated enough to tell the difference between somebody trying to sell and promote medical grade PPE and somebody just saying, my kids wear a mask and this is which one. It's just another challenge to be aware of when trying to spread awareness. And it still is just funny to me to see pictures of my kids and ad can't run, as if they're doing something bad that's going to harm society, right? Next slide, please. Thank you. With all the limitations we have, should we give up? Absolutely not, and we haven't. Censorship works against your advocacy, but remember to don't stop. Your work is important and you're inspiring the public. You're saving lives. Even if you can save only one life, that's a big deal. You can reach a huge amount of people on social media. The impact of our work is not measurable. When you look up Mask Together America on Facebook, in the past, you could get a warning that they have limited sales of certain items. Okay, so that obviously doesn't have to do with Mask Together America. You wonder, are they supporting corporate America or possibly states that are against mask mandates? Is that why we're getting warnings like that? Also, they would not allow us to promote Aaron's post. You can see it there on the right. Because they said it was a social, electoral, or political issue, and that it could not be shown to people under certain ages in certain countries. So who's perpetuating that vaccination and mask wearing is political? Facebook. Okay? Should be disgusted, but that's just my own opinion. They're allowed to block public health information from getting to young people. And that's exactly what Teens for Vaccines is trying to prevent. They're trying to do that, and Facebook won't help sometimes. In the US, that age is 18, but it says in the other countries it's even 20. So in Thailand, if you're under 20, you couldn't see that ad. And under 21 in Indonesia. 21? They can't see an ad about vaccination? And what is happening here? 21. So we know that we can hit a lot of people even on other platforms. The other platforms have billions of users. So if Facebook is a problem, you can use another one. Next slide, please. Can you guys see the slides? Okay, there you go. Thanks. Like we were saying, remember, don't give up. This is a reference for if you want to use Facebook in the future for your own advocacy, you can look back at this slide and get information on what to post and how you can do it, how long it can be, etc. But we reach tens of thousands of people each month on our multiple platforms, even with the blocking. We're part of a community that is working hard to fight misinformation. And Facebook is the perfect place to share long form content, with the platform allowing about 60,000 characters in regular posts. This gives you ample space to tell a detailed story or something more in depth. So thank you. Next slide, please. So how to use Twitter. For Twitter, you want to tweet together. For example, for the COVID Survivors for Change used Twitter well, and for their Add Yellow campaign. It reached celebrities such as Julianne Moore, and she retweeted it, and we got a lot of eyes on it that way. Be part of a Twitter community, help lift each other up. Julie volunteered and took pictures for the COVID march. You could see that the building in New York City lit up in yellow. And she joined the Yellow Heart Memorial Group, and she retweeted other people's tweets. It's important to be a team player. So, Becky, are you there? Actually, let's just...
Yeah, okay, here we go. All of my features were turned off and I couldn't speak.
That's okay.
Okay. And so in reference to Twitter, and ironically, I had no idea. Wait, turn on my camera. Okay, hang on. Sure.
So I'll say a little bit about Becky. We didn't have really a following on Twitter until recently. And
we can't hear you, Becky.
But Becky was already on Twitter, and she became one of our supporters. And so she tweeted a lot about us. And so we've had a presence on Twitter, but we didn't have an actual platform until recently. So we're grateful to Becky for a lot of the notice we have on Twitter right now. I can hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yeah, don't do whispering. Okay.
Oh, no, I wasn't. There's some feature. As far as Twitter, and to me, this is, it's kind of funny because it fell in my lap. Twitter, one thing that's pretty awesome about it is probably it's the most reliable source when you're looking for real-time news. I mean, you know, by the time things hit Facebook, it's a whole different story. And so having all of that accuracy, and I start tweeting. I follow all of the big time virologists, epidemiologists, only because that's the nature of our platform. But by following all of them and interacting with their comments, I never knew how it worked. And then all of a sudden, you know, people would either like my comment, and all of a sudden I started gaining some following, and it was just like this little cult following, and I didn't even know where they came from. And next thing you know, we are all playing with one another. I found a guy whose name is SARS, and he represents COVID, and then like he's got all of these other personas. So we interact, we're funny, we're pro-mask, pro-vax, but we don't push it. We're like, all of us are kind of entertaining, and people enjoy following that. But I think once you establish, I'm not just giving them news, but you establish with rapport and connections with some other key players, and it just works. I mean, I really have no idea how I ended up with so many friends, but nonetheless, it was. I mean, I enjoy it. The only thing about Twitter is that you have to be active almost all the time. And that's, you know, Facebook, two posts a day, and that's good as long as you have interaction on your page. But as far as Twitter, if you don't have action like a day or two, you get put down the line. And so you have to keep your account constantly alive in their algorithm to get attention. But I tag, you know, all of my cohorts here, Lindsay and Ayan now, and Julie. We all tag each other, and then that makes theirs retweet. And then we have Long COVID Canada, and it seems that all of the people that were interested in our topic and safety, we've all kind of become friends. Like, we all know the key players that really want to drive change, and we have them all over the world. So that's just kind of my part, and my contribution is pretty much on the. There we go.
Thank you, Becky. I think that information is invaluable, and it's inspiring too. You're the Twitter master for sure. Next slide, please. So invent a hashtag. This is really important. It gives people something to do, and it's a way to support each other. And just on Instagram alone, our hashtag has been used on over 6,500 posts. Next slide, please. So Julie will explain what she learned from creating content for the Instagram account. So take it away, Julie.
I'm going to keep this short. Just make sure you use shoot everything vertically, because your phone is vertical, and 96% of people use their phone to do social media. So don't do horizontal, but Facebook really like vertical images better. You get more views and you get more curation. And additionally, use vaccine stickers. Vaccine stickers help you to evade censorship, and you want to add music and have fun. And I'm going to give you an example. Next slide, please. We're going to play this video that I shot when I was shopping at Trader Joe's. I saw this hanging pumpkin that's kind of cute. And overnight, Facebook helped MTA got nearly 4,000 views of the this short video, because Facebook loved this reel and curated it. And so this is a good example of what you can do. Can we play it? Well, this is a simple concept, just sharing the reality, how people masking up together in a congregate setting. Everyone can do this. Now I'm going to have Ayan to present and share how Mask Together America collaborate with Teens for Vaccines.
Thank you, Julie, Lindsay, and RN, and of course, thank you to the World Health Network. I'm inspired to be here today. You know, I've been working with Julie for a while now, and we have a great relationship because we always crack each other up. Even though we're in a serious situation, we acknowledge that it's important to remain upbeat. The work that Julie is doing is what gives me hope. The stories and photos that she shares gives me a sense of unity with my fellow citizens of the world. You have to understand the work that Julie is doing. She's shedding light on the stories that need to be shared. My name is Ayan Moladina, and I am one of the vice presidents at Teens for Vaccines. Teens for Vaccines aspires to give teens the power to make their own decisions. We truly believe in the life-saving power of vaccines. I started doing vaccine work when I was volunteering with the American Muslim and Multi-Faith Women's Empowerment Council, or AMWAC. I worked to get my neighbors, friends, family, just everyone vaccinated. I knew it was the only way we could get out of this pandemic. AMLAC was part of the White House Month of Action. We ran Facebook ads, did a lot of legislative advocacy, and went door to door in the hot Texas weather, even when our bikes broke down. We found places where we could make our voices heard. It was doing this that I found my passion for activism and public health. It was also through AMWAC and the White House that I found Teens for Vaccines. I stayed as active as possible in TFV and tried to prove to everyone that I could make a difference. Throughout my time at TFV, my goal has remained the same: make a huge impact. Whether it be through phone banks, social media advocacy, or talking to senators, congressional leaders, and the Surgeon General of the United States, I found a way to put myself out there and show people that getting vaccinated was the right thing to do. Next slide, please. Julie first contacted me a few months ago and asked me to support her campaign using the hashtag #MaskTogetherAmerica. I was delighted that my work was reaching fellow organizers. I knew, though, that if we worked together, we could do even more. Knowing this, I talked to Aaron and I said, hey, why don't we work together with Mask Together America and make an even bigger difference? He was on board, so I talked to Julie about it, and she told us about a PSA that she was working on and thought that we should highlight teens across the country who are standing up for what they believe in. So that's what we did. She named me as the co-producer of this project and told me that my job would be to pull our ambassadors together to complete this PSA. I pushed and pushed our ambassadors to dig deep and find the stories and messages that they wanted to share. We got hundreds of people from all walks of life, from all over the country, to participate in this campaign to promote community masking and vaccination. Julie put it all together and made a really powerful public service announcement. Of course, there were challenges while doing this project. It was hard to get people to participate, and it was hard to manage a volunteer project. The key was to make it fun and exciting. Not only did this make ambassadors want to participate, but it also encouraged people to watch and listen to what we had to say. I had to keep in mind that all of these participants were students and that they have to focus on schoolwork, so I couldn't ask for too much. This may seem like a limitation, but I used it as an advantage. Because I couldn't get too much from each person, I could get a lot more people to participate, which made the PSA even more powerful. I'd like to share this video with you now, if we could get that video playing, please.
My name is Hana Zaitan. I'm 13 years old and I'm fully vaccinated.
but I still wear a mask for my brother and my sister, and for my friends who are not eligible to be vaccinated. My name is Ayan Moladina, and I'm 12 years old, and I live in Austin, Texas. I'm vaccinated, and I'm masked up.
I'm Lorenzo. I'm from California, and I am vaccinated.
Hey, I'm Braden from Utah, and I got vaccinated so that I can protect those in my community who can't get vaccinated.
Hi, I'm Alex from California, and I got vaccinated to help prevent the spread of COVID-19.
I'm from California. I'm the founder of Teens for Vaccine and fully vaccinated against COVID-19. I have a younger sister, and I am very afraid of her possibly getting COVID. So if we want to protect them, we have to get vaccinated and wear our masks.
Please protect us.
I'm Mary in New York City, and I'm vaccinated.
My name is Pranav. I'm from California, and I'm fully vaccinated.
Deborah from Florida. I am vaccinated.
My name is Trenton Barfield. I'm from Louisiana, and I got vaccinated to help stop the spread of COVID.
Andrea from Florida, and I am vaccinated.
Hi, my name is Larry, and we mask up here in Texas.
Woo! Hi, my name is Lindsay. I'm from New York, and I've been vaccinated since April.
My name is Dennis. I live in New York City, and I am vaccinated.
My name is Karen Mooney. I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm vaccinated.
Ned Xavier, Arleta, California. We are fully vaccinated.
I'm Kira from Seattle, and I got vaccinated to help my Seattle community.
Hi, my name is Rignesh Padmanur. I live in California, and most of all, I'm vaccinated.
My name is Helen from New York. I'm a nurse, and I am vaccinated. Let's continue wearing our masks in order to protect ourselves and others. This is the only way that we can beat this pandemic.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm from California, and I got vaccinated to protect myself and all the people I love from getting sick.
I'm Dr. Marjorie Roberts, Johns Creek, Georgia. I'm fully vaccinated, and I wear my mask because I love my family.
My name is Atriya Bhattacharya, and I'm from California. I am vaccinated.
Beth Scheid, vaccinated in Michigan.
Hi, my name's Fiona. I'm from Texas, and I wear a mask to protect others.
My name is Luke. I'm from Connecticut, and I am fully vaccinated.
Hi, I'm Mariana from California, and I got vaccinated to help stop COVID from spreading and mutating.
I'm Sophie. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm vaccinated.
This is Dr. Robbie. I am vaccinated. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
I'm Michelle from Seattle, and I'm fully vaccinated.
My name is Sheila. I live in Georgia, and I'm vaccinated.
I'm Joshua. I'm from California, and I'm vaccinated.
My name is Shreya. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm fully vaccinated.
I am Lakeisha Murchison from Washington, D.C. I dedicate my vaccine shots to my mother, Tracy Murchison, who lost her battle to COVID on April 7th, 2020.
What I am doing to combat this pandemic is working as an ambassador for Teens for Vaccines, doing legislative work, creating Instagram posts, combating misinformation, and also doing community outreach.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Haynes. I dedicate my vaccine shots as well as the 387 vaccine shots I helped to schedule as a Maryland vaccine hunter to my baby brother John at Stop Door.
Peace and blessings. This is Minister Kim Martin Raymond. I'm reaching out to ask you to mask together America. This pandemic isn't about creating hatred or division. It's about expressing empathy and love for your fellow brothers and sisters. Anger is not going to combat this virus. Compassion will. Make the difference. Mask up right now.
Protect your loved ones and your friends. Wear a mask.
My name is Blythe Bates, and I'm from Vermont. I wear a mask to keep myself and others safe from COVID-19. I work at a school, and it's very important to me that we all stay safe. Please wear a mask to keep us all protected.
You can play your part to help this pandemic by A, wearing a mask when you're near people or in rooms with other people that firmly goes over your nose and your mouth and if they could see you on it. And the second is social distancing and taking the vaccine if you're eligible.
The pandemic has affected all of us. Please, for the sake of the country, mask up and get vaccinated. We can get out of this terrible pandemic together.
Let's mask together, America. Masking's kind of cool.
you can just see how powerful that was and just truly how inspiring those stories are. Thank you, Julie, Aaron, and Lindsay, for leading us in a training on social media to spread awareness about causes that matter most to us. Next slide, please.
My name is Hannah.
I have talked to so many people over the course of this pandemic. I have heard so many stories, and I realize that your stories are powerful. I have heard of people who are homebound and need someone to come to their house and give them the vaccine. I have talked to people who have had rough lives and think the vaccine is inaccessible to them. Someone told me that they suffer from 7 different types of cancers, but their doctor told them to get the vaccine, and so they did. They said when their doctor tells them to do something, they do it. I talked to people who believe that COVID is a hoax and the vaccines are made to kill people. I have talked to people who believe that there are so many other ways that you can die, that COVID doesn't even matter. Of course, we know these claims are false. With 745,000 deaths from COVID in the United States and almost 5 million deaths across the globe, we know that COVID is no joke. It's up to us to honor those people who lost their lives. Just like the pin that Lindsay is wearing with the yellow heart, it is a symbol of the Yellow Heart Memorial, which honors those lost to COVID-19. We also know that as many as 300,000 lives have been saved from the COVID-19 vaccines. This is according to studies from Yale University. COVID is real, and we know that vaccines and masks save lives. If we know that just a little piece of fabric can save lives, then why not just wear one? It hurts me that crises like this get turned political. This is not about being an American. This is not about being a Democrat or a Republican. It's about being an American. It's about being a citizen of the world. COVID has taken away the things we love most: traveling, meeting new people, hanging out with friends. The place where I go swimming stopped requiring masks. We're indoors and the coaches are so close to you when giving instructions, so I don't feel safe. I now have to reevaluate if I want to continue doing something that I love. The state of Texas has banned mask mandates in schools. They have banned private businesses from requiring masks. What's next? Masks are a way of protection. Not only do they protect you, but they protect the people around you. Before we had vaccines, with community masking alone, we had almost flattened the curve, and then it went back up when we unmasked over the summer. It hurts me to see people suffering and politicians turning this political. Not just Republicans, but Democrats and independents as well. We need to come together and unite as one community. As many as 150,000 children have lost a loved one to the coronavirus. This virus has done enough. It's time we stand up and defeat it once and for all. Listen and share stories, connect with one another, and of course get vaccinated and mask up. That's how we can get out of this pandemic. We have to make our voices heard. Earlier this year, the United States Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, issued a health misinformation advisory saying, quote, "I am urging all Americans to help slow the spread of health misinformation during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Health misinformation is a serious threat to public health. It can cause confusion, sow mistrust, harm people's health, and undermine public health efforts. Limiting the spread of health misinformation is a moral and civic imperative that will require a whole of society effort. If someone you care about has a misperception, you might be able to make inroads with them by first seeking to understand instead of passing judgment. Try new ways of engaging. Listen with empathy. Establish common ground. Ask questions. Provide alternative explanations and sources of information. Stay calm and don't expect success from one conversation. Julie has taught me that the best way we can do this is through social media. Social media is powerful, and we have to use it because it gives a voice to the voiceless. We need to come together as a global community to end this pandemic for good. As much bad as this pandemic has done, it has given us an opportunity to become stronger and more resilient. Social media can be learned. Before the pandemic started, I had never used social media. I had no training, but yet I was successful in spreading my message. Everyone on this call can learn this and advocate for what they believe in. Please embrace social media and spread the word. They give us a platform to speak, and they are key to advocacy. Together we can raise awareness to what we know is right, which is to get vaccinated and mask up. I know we've already gone a lot over time. We have a lot to say, but just one final thing, if we can go to the next slide, about how you can support TFV. Teens for Vaccines is asking you to join our movement. Let's come out stronger than before. Go to our website, teensforvaccines.org, to learn more about us and find out how you can become one of our ambassadors. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at teensforvax. Use the hashtags teensforvax and Mask Together America, because if we do, we can get back to the things we love. We have many upcoming events like phone banks where we will call teens in the Memphis, Tennessee area and help them make vaccine appointments. We'd love to have you join us for this. Also, we are hosting training on talking to students about vaccines. In addition, we're hosting many Instagram live conversations with our partner organizations. All event information and registration is on our social media, so check it out. We'd love to have you there. Whether you're planning the next hangout or hugs with grandma, we all deserve to be safe and protected. No matter your zip code, no matter your race or what's in your wallet, let's get back to what we love most. It's a pleasure to be sharing my thoughts with you today. Thank you so much for having me. I'll give it back to Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ayan. That was really inspirational. I'm inspired even more. Thank you so much. And thank you for pointing out my yellow heart. I appreciate it, for my dad. So please support Mask Together America. Our website is masktogetheramerica.org. We are also putting together a new video to show children ages 5 to 11 getting vaccinated. And please share your videos with us and be part of our project. We're going to put a new video together, so send those in.